A quiet night, a sold-out wrestling arena, and thousands of fans roaring for action. That was the backdrop for one of the most unexpected showdowns the city had ever witnessed. Normally, the highlight of the evening would be the spectacular matches featuring high-flying moves and dramatic finishes. But tonight promised something far different. In the ring, the announcer had just finished hyping the crowd for the next bout when an undercurrent of tension began to swirl through the stands. Meanwhile, backstage, Dwayne Johnson adjusted his wrist tape and prepared for a routine segment. Although a top star of the wrestling circuit, famous for his unwavering bravado and motivational catchphrases, he had no clue that fate was about to pit him against a threat lurking outside the scripted confines. At that same moment, outside the massive global wrestling showcase arena, the roar of motorcycle engines shattered the stillness of the night. A gang clad in black leather rumbled in, led by a tall, imposing figure with a scar across his brow and a perpetual sneer etched into his face. His name was Razor, the leader of the infamous biker crew known as the Nightblades. Under the flickering streetlights, their metallic spikes glinted ominously, and fans arriving late to the show gave them wide berth. The Nightblades were rumored to run protection rackets and orchestrate bar brawls, but few realized they also had a personal score to settle, one that would collide violently with the night's main event. Razor, his boots crunching on the pavement, glanced at the billboard plastered outside the arena. It proudly displayed Dwayne Johnson in mid-celebration, holding up a champion's belt. A half-smile formed on Razor's lips as he recalled a memory from nearly a decade ago. Back then, he had faced Dwayne in a promotional fight, an encounter that ended with Razor's humiliating defeat in front of a packed stadium. He never forgot the mocking cheers or the sight of Johnson standing tall. Razor had sworn vengeance ever since. Now, with the Nightblades behind him, he intended to settle the score once and for all by ruining Dwayne's moment, or worse. Inside, the show progressed. The crowd roared as each match escalated in intensity. While some fans suspected a twist for the evening, none could predict that a legitimate threat would soon overshadow any script. In the stands, near the upper rows, sat a 12-year-old boy named Dante, decked out in neon wristbands and wearing a t-shirt with Dwayne Johnson's face emblazoned across the chest. Dante's father, Mr. Tatum, accompanied him, quietly sipping a soda while occasionally cracking a grin at his son's excitement. Tonight was supposed to be Dante's birthday treat, a chance to see his hero, The Rock, do his signature moves and deliver motivational lines about never giving up. Backstage, Dwayne finished a quick pep talk with event staff and double-checked the lineup. He felt a prickle of unease, a sense that something was off. Deciding it was just adrenaline, he shook it off. On nights like this, he was used to large crowds and the rowdy atmosphere. But that uneasy feeling would prove justified soon. As the second match of the evening wrapped, an official approached Dwayne with a worried expression. The official, rummaging through a clipboard, admitted to him that a group of suspicious bikers had been asking about entrance passes earlier. They'd shown some questionable backstage credentials, but security let them in, assuming it was part of a special promotional cameo. Dwayne's gut told him these were no standard guests. Meanwhile, unknown to Dwayne, the Nightblades had slipped through a side entrance, blending into the labyrinth of corridors behind the curtains. Razor led them with the confidence of a man who believed this was all beneath him. He snapped instructions. "Spread out. Don't let any of these clowns spoil our plan. If you see Johnson first, you get to bring me the good news." The irony was thick. They were on territory that Dwayne had dominated for years, but the scripted ring was about to collide with real-world hostility. And out in the seats, Dante perched on the edge of his chair, enthralled by the bright lights and slamming bodies in the ring, blissfully unaware that a real fight was about to erupt. Dwayne Johnson met Razor's gaze, the entire arena pulsating with tension. Fans close to the barricade could sense the realness of the threat. No typical WWE storyline had this vibe, the sense that real violence was about to erupt, unscripted, dangerous. The ring announcers at their table were stammering, uncertain how to describe this invasion. One mic picked up a quiet commentary line. This isn't part of the show, folks." From the ramp, Razor took a methodical walk forward, his boots clacking on the steel surface. Two Nightblades flanked him, each brandishing heavy chains or metal rods. Despite the commotion, Many fans kept cheering, not fully comprehending the danger. Others, more discerning, began pulling out phones, capturing the madness. The backstage staff scrambled, calling for additional security. Inside the ring, Dwayne sized up the threat. He recognized a vantage advantage if he remained inside the ropes. He was used to controlling ring space, while these men were mere street brawlers. However, letting them climb in unopposed would be foolish. Swiftly, he motioned a few security guards to secure the ramp, but the gang pushed them aside like rag dolls. The crowd gasped as one guard hit the floor with a painful thud. "Look at you," Razor's voice boomed, carrying across the hushed crowd. "Big man, standing tall. Thought you had me beaten years ago, right?" He shrugged off his jacket, revealing a thick, scarred torso. "You took my dignity. Now I'm here for payback, in front of your precious fans." Dwayne's expression remained calm, though adrenaline surged inside him. He recalled that brief promotional match from nearly a decade prior, a cameo storyline that ended with Razor humiliated. He had no idea that moment had festered into a vendetta. Clearing his throat, Dwayne lifted the mic he still held. "Razor, if you came for a fight, you're about to get one," he said, voice echoing through the sound system. "But don't drag these people into it. This is between you and me." Razor's eyes flicked to the crowd. "Too late for that, champ. You humiliated me publicly, so now the public gets to see you fall." With that, he raised his right arm, the chain draped over it glinting under the arena lights, and signaled the rest of the Nightblades. They advanced. The crowd collectively inhaled, bracing for a brawl. Dwayne wasted no time. He hurled the microphone at one of the lesser bikers, momentarily stunning him, then charged forward to intercept Razor's chain swing. Their bodies collided, a raw impact that made the ring cable sway. Dwayne ducked the chain, delivering a stiff forearm to Razor's jaw. The audience exploded in cheers and screams, half confused, half enthralled. Some thinking it was an epic storyline, others suspecting it was horrifyingly real. Two more bikers rushed the ring, forcing Dwayne to pivot. He caught the first with a double-leg takedown, slamming him onto the mat. The second swung a rod at Dwayne's back, but Dwayne rolled away at the last second. The rod smacked the top turnbuckle with a metallic clang. Furious, the biker turned, only to eat a thunderous clothesline from Dwayne, sending him flipping over the ropes. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing each moment. The child Dante stood transfixed at ringside, mouth agape, seeing his idol fight not a normal match, but a real-life battle. Meanwhile, Razor recovered from the forearm, spitting blood from a split lip. "You're dead, Johnson," he snarled. He lashed out with the chain again, the heavy links whistling through the air. Dwayne hopped back, feeling the chain brush dangerously close. Another Nightblade tried to corner him from behind, but Dwayne spun, delivering a savage elbow that sent the man reeling. "That the best you got?" Dwayne roared, adrenaline fueling him. The crowd roared back, as if to rally him on. In the confusion, more security poured in from backstage. Several referees, staffers, and off-duty wrestlers joined, tackling the lesser bikers. A full-blown riot was unfolding inside the WWE ring, overshadowing any pre-planned segment. Overhead, big screens flickered with the broadcast feed, capturing every angle. The commentators had given up trying to pretend this was a storyline. "We're seeing an actual assault," one exclaimed. "Someone needs to call the police." Struggling to contain the chaos, Dwayne realized that simply fighting off these men might not be enough. Razor was fueled by more than just a bruised ego. He wanted total vengeance. Glancing around, Dwayne noticed Dante near the barricade, eyes wide with concern. Even from the ring, he could see the boys trembling. Dwayne took a quick breath. If he let this brawl continue, civilians could get hurt. He had to finish it now. Dwayne Johnson met Razor's gaze, the entire arena pulsating with tension. Fans close to the barricade could sense the realness of the threat. No typical WWE storyline had this vibe. The sense that real violence was about to erupt. Unscripted, dangerous. The ring announcers at their table were stammering, uncertain how to describe this invasion. One mic picked up a quiet commentary line. This isn't part of the show, folks." From the ramp, Razor took a methodical walk forward, his boots clacking on the steel surface. Two Nightblades flanked him, each brandishing heavy chains or metal rods. Despite the commotion, many fans kept cheering, not fully comprehending the danger. Others, more discerning, began pulling out phones, capturing the madness. The backstage staff scrambled, calling for additional security. Inside the ring, Dwayne sized up the threat. He recognized a vantage advantage if he remained inside the ropes. He was used to controlling ring space, while these men were mere street brawlers. However, letting them climb in unopposed would be foolish. Swiftly, he motioned a few security guards to secure the ramp, but the gang pushed them aside like rag dolls. The crowd gasped as one guard hit the floor with a painful thud. "Look at you," Razor's voice boomed, carrying across the hushed crowd. "Big man, standing tall. Thought you had me beaten years ago, right?" He shrugged off his jacket, revealing a thick, scarred torso. "You took my dignity. Now I'm here for payback, in front of your precious fans." Dwayne's expression remained calm, though adrenaline surged inside him. He recalled that brief promotional match from nearly a decade prior, a cameo storyline that ended with Razor humiliated. He had no idea that moment had festered into a vendetta. Clearing his throat, Dwayne lifted the mic he still held. "Razor, if you came for a fight, you're about to get one," he said, voice echoing through the sound system. "But don't drag these people into it. This is between you and me." Razor's eyes flicked to the crowd. "Too late for that, champ. You humiliated me publicly, so now the public gets to see you fall." With that, he raised his right arm, the chain draped over it glinting under the arena lights, and signaled the rest of the Nightblades. They advanced. The crowd collectively inhaled, bracing for a brawl. Dwayne wasted no time. He hurled the microphone at one of the lesser bikers, momentarily stunning him, then charged forward to intercept Razor's chain swing. Their bodies collided, a raw impact that made the ring cable sway. Dwayne ducked the chain, delivering a stiff forearm to Razor's jaw. The audience exploded in cheers and screams, half confused, half enthralled. Some thinking it was an epic storyline, others suspecting it was horrifyingly real. Two more bikers rushed the ring, forcing Dwayne to pivot. He caught the first with a double-leg takedown, slamming him onto the mat. The second swung a rod at Dwayne's back, but Dwayne rolled away at the last second. The rod smacked the top turnbuckle with a metallic clang. Furious, the biker turned, only to eat a thunderous clothesline from Dwayne, sending him flipping over the ropes. Cameras flashed incessantly, capturing each moment. The child Dante stood transfixed at ringside, mouth agape, seeing his idol fight not a normal match, but a real-life battle. Meanwhile, Razor recovered from the forearm, spitting blood from a split lip. "You're dead, Johnson," he snarled. He lashed out with the chain again, the heavy links whistling through the air. Dwayne hopped back, feeling the chain brush dangerously close. Another Nightblade tried to corner him from behind, but Dwayne spun, delivering a savage elbow that sent the man reeling. "That the best you got?" Dwayne roared, adrenaline fueling him. The crowd roared back as if to rally him on. In the confusion, more security poured in from backstage. Several referees, staffers, and off-duty wrestlers joined, tackling the lesser bikers. A full-blown riot was unfolding inside the WWE ring, overshadowing any pre-planned segment. Overhead, big screens flickered with the broadcast feed, capturing every angle. The commentators had given up trying to pretend this was a storyline. "We're seeing an actual assault," one exclaimed. "Someone needs to call the police." Struggling to contain the chaos, Dwayne realized that simply fighting off these men might not be enough. Razor was fueled by more than just a bruised ego. He wanted total vengeance. Glancing around, Dwayne noticed Dante near the barricade, eyes wide with concern. Even from the ring, he could see the boys trembling. Dwayne took a quick breath. If he let this brawl continue, civilians could get hurt. He had to finish it now. Dwayne Johnson narrowed his eyes, focusing on Razor. He recognized that cutting off the head, Razor's leadership, would likely demoralize the rest of the Nightblades. So far, smaller tussles had erupted around the ring, but the crowd parted to avoid direct confrontation. Some of the other bikers wrestled with security, fists flying. The ring itself shook as more bodies stumbled in and out. But Dwayne locked onto his main target. "You want payback?" he growled, stepping forward. "Come and get it." Razor obliged, swinging the chain overhead. Dwayne ducked, hooking Razor's waist in a powerful takedown. They crashed to the mat, chain rattling away. In a swift, practiced motion, Dwayne pinned Razor's left arm with his knee. The crowd roared. The bikers outside tried to rush in, but a group of wrestlers from backstage, Tony Biggs, Trey Sparks, and Eli Storm, blocked them, forming a protective ring around Dwayne and Razor's showdown. A grin spread across Dwayne's face, though sweat poured from his brow. This was the moment. He raised his fist high and slammed it down, a series of punishing strikes that hammered Razor's defenses. Razor endured, twisting to escape. With a tremendous heave, he shoved Dwayne off, both men rolling to their feet. The chain was out of reach, leaving them to rely on fists. They circled each other like caged animals. Meanwhile, Dante clutched the barricade so hard his knuckles turned white. He had come to watch his hero wrestle a show, but ended up witnessing a savage brawl. His father, Mr. Tatum, tried to reassure him, but the boy's eyes never left Dwayne, praying silently for his safety. The ring light shone down, capturing every beat of sweat, every harsh breath. This wasn't the typical glitz and glamour. The fans realized they were experiencing an unscripted moment, raw and real. Razor lunged again, landing a brutal right cross on Dwayne's jaw. The force nearly dropped Dwayne to a knee, but the champion inside him refused to buckle. Dwayne retaliated with an uppercut to Razor's gut. Gasping, Razor stumbled backward, letting out a string of curses. The crowd collectively inhaled. They had never seen a match with such raw intensity. The front row fans parted quickly as yet another Nightblade tried to join the fray, but Tony Biggs tackled him from behind. That side scuffle ended swiftly with the biker pinned. The security team was finally gaining an upper hand. Inside the ring, Dwayne sensed Razor weakening. Using the momentum from the uppercut, he pivoted behind Razor, hooking him around the waist. The audience recognized the setup for one of his signature slams. Razor thrashed, but Dwayne's grip was unyielding. With a mighty roar, he lifted Razor overhead and slammed him onto the mat, the ring vibrating under the impact. The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, some chanting, "Johnson! Johnson!" while others roared in disbelief. Under normal circumstances, such a signature move was well choreographed, but this time the blow was real. Razor lay winded, chest heaving, the fight draining from his eyes. Dwayne knelt next to him, breathing ragged. "We done here?" he asked, voice low but carrying the weight of finality. Razor glared but couldn't muster the energy to stand. The rest of the Nightblades, seeing their leader subdued, began to falter. Security, plus the combined might of wrestlers, quickly subdued the remaining bikers. The riot diffused as they were pinned, cuffed, or forcibly escorted out. The ring announcers, previously stunned into silence, found their voices. One exclaimed, "I can't believe what we just witnessed. Dwayne Johnson has single-handedly taken down Razor and the Nightblades." The fans realized this was no storyline, chanting "Dwayne, Dwayne" with a renewed fervor. A wave of relief washed over the arena. Some people started hugging or high-fiving strangers, while others scrambled to take pictures of the aftermath. The wrecked chain, battered bikers, and disheveled security told a story of chaos now quelled. In the front row, Dante couldn't contain himself. He pumped his fists, tears brimming in his eyes from the sheer intensity of the situation. Mr. Tatum patted his son's back, equally awed. They had come for entertainment, but got a life lesson in courage. As more officials rushed in, checking on Dwayne's condition, the crowd realized that an authentic moment of heroism had just unfolded. Cameras flashed, capturing Dwayne's exhausted stance as he glared down at the battered Razor, who spat blood and profanity, but offered no more fight. Lights still flickered, and the referee's table was in disarray. The entire ring area looked like a war zone. Dwayne Johnson stepped back to give the police room to cuff Razor, who grunted curses through a split lip. The battered bikers were being rounded up, arms wrenched behind their backs, escorted by uniformed officers. A hush of awe and excitement pulsed through the crowd. On the Tron overhead, replays of the scuffle ran on a loop, capturing the real blow-by-blow battle. Normally, WWE fans devour high drama, but many recognized that this wasn't the usual choreographed spectacle. Dante, trembling with excitement and adrenaline, waved from behind the barricade. Dwayne made his way over, chest still heaving. The boy's face was a mixture of wonder and relief. His father, Mr. Tatum, nodded in gratitude, placing a steady hand on Dante's shoulder. "That was insane," the boy breathed, nearly stumbling over his words. "Are you okay, Mr. Johnson?" Dwayne mustered a wry smile. "I'll feel it tomorrow, but I'm all right for now." Security staff parted the ring apron, letting paramedics check on Drake, now Razor, and a few bruised wrestlers. Some of the Nightblades moaned in agony, while others glowered, refusing medical attention. The fans began chanting, "Thank you, Johnson," over and over. A few fans started a new wave, others took pictures. This was the kind of moment that would go viral instantly. From behind the entrance curtains, the show's promoter, Mr. Townsend, emerged, his face a swirl of disbelief and exasperation. Townsend approached Dwayne with arms half lifted in a helpless gesture. "What the hell was that?" he asked, voice equal parts concern and relief. "They said some bikers forced their way in, but I never thought they'd jump the ring." Dwayne shrugged. "I recognized them from last night. Had a run-in at a bar. Guess they wanted revenge." Townsend shook his head, scanning the wrecked ring mats and the scattered debris. "Insurance is gonna love this. But the good news is, you made real headlines. The crowd is insane for you right now." Dwayne wasn't comforted by the mention of headlines. He glanced at the paramedics who had just helped Razor to his feet. The men slapped cuffs on him, leading him away. Razor turned once more to glare at Dwayne, but the raw hatred was overshadowed by obvious defeat. "This isn't over," Razor hissed, though he looked barely conscious. Dwayne stared back calmly, offering no reply. He knew men like Razor thrived on responding to threats. Sometimes silence was a stronger message. As officers led the Nightblades out, a wave of relief finally swept over the stands. The ring announcer tried to salvage the show, stepping in front of the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice quavering slightly, "due to unforeseen circumstances, we'll have a short intermission. Please remain in your seats or visit the concession stands. We will resume the event shortly." The crowd gave an odd mixture of applause and uncertain murmuring. Some fans filed out to grab a drink, others stuck around, hoping for more developments. Meanwhile, Dante and Mr. Tatum lingered near ringside, not wanting to miss a chance to talk to Dwayne. A portion of the fans started chanting again, "Dwayne! Dwayne! Dwayne!" Dwayne gave a short wave and forced a smile. Adrenaline still coursed through him. Bruises stung on his arms, probably from the chain or that rod one of the bikers had. But he was used to the pain. In WWE, he performed stunts daily. Yet this was different. This was real risk. No stunt coordinator, no script. He hopped down from the ring, heading toward Dante. The boy stood on tiptoes, holding a sign that read, "Never give up," in bright marker. Dwayne's grin softened. "That's a pretty good motto," he teased lightly, pointing to the sign. The boy nodded vigorously. "You're the reason I made it," Dante said. "Thanks for everything you just did. That was so brave." The father, Mr. Tatum, extended a handshake. "I can't thank you enough. That could have ended so badly." Dwayne returned the handshake with a nod. "I'm just glad no one else got hurt." He glanced around. "Might want to keep an eye out, though. People like them don't always quit after round one." Dante's eyes widened. "You think they'll come back?" Dwayne paused, considering how best to reassure the kid without lying. "They might try something else, but trust me, they won't get far. I'll make sure of it." That small promise seemed to settle the boy's nerves. Up in the nosebleed seats, a wave of excited talk still churned. Fans who missed the skirmish were stunned to see replays on their phone feeds, capturing Dwayne in a legit fight, not a choreographed storyline. Meanwhile, backstage officials scrambled to figure out how to resume the show. Townsend marched around with a walkie-talkie, instructing staff to check for any more intruders. They found none. It seemed the entire Nightblades crew had thrown everything into that single surprise assault. At last, Townsend approached Dwayne with a solemn expression. "Look, this fiasco overshadowed the entire broadcast. Cameras caught every second, so we can't pretend it was part of the show. but we'll address it as an unfortunate real-life incident. Are you, are you all right to continue? The fans still want your main event. Dwayne considered. His body was battered, but his spirit was intact. Sure, he said, forcing a small grin. After that, a normal wrestling match is just a warm-up. The promoter exhaled in relief. From the ring, the announcer spoke again. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your patience. The next match is about to begin. But first, here he is. Your hero from tonight, Dwayne Johnson. The crowd erupted in deafening cheers as the lights refocused on him. Dante cheered the loudest, his voice cracking from excitement. Dwayne gave the father and son a final wave, then turned his attention back to the ring. He had a show to put on. The real fight was over, at least for now. But tomorrow's headlines would be ablaze with the story of how Dwayne Johnson overcame a real invasion on the WWE stage. Some might call it a stunt, but the world would soon know better. In the aftermath of the chaotic evening, the entire wrestling community buzzed with stories of Dwayne Johnson's confrontation with the Nightblades. Within hours, social media blew up with fan-shot videos of the savage brawl. Journalists quickly labeled it the Nightblade invasion, and by morning, major news outlets were covering the incident as front-page headlines. Some speculated about the severity of Razor's injuries. Others marveled at how Dwayne had defended the ring so valiantly. Meanwhile, in a small county jail on the outskirts of the city, Razor was booked for assault, trespassing, and incitement of violence. His Nightblades faced charges ranging from disorderly conduct to carrying illegal weapons. All awaited their fate with bail set high. Yet rumors suggested some influential backers might help them out soon. The brand of lawless intimidation that Razor specialized in thrived on powerful allies lurking in the shadows. At a press conference the next morning, Mr. Townsend, the wrestling promoter, stood behind a microphone. Flanked by WWE staff, he condemned the violence, promising that their organization would tighten security measures to ensure fan safety. Last night was absolutely unacceptable, Townsend declared, and we are exploring legal action. A throng of reporters pressed for more details, but Townsend mostly repeated corporate lines. When asked about Dwayne Johnson, Townsend offered a proud smile. We're extremely grateful that Dwayne took quick action and prevented what could have been a far worse incident. Dwayne himself chose not to attend the press conference. Instead, he visited a local clinic to treat his bruised ribs and get a checkup for minor cuts. A longtime friend, Doc Henry, an ex-military medic turned sports physician, welcomed him in a small private office. Well, if it isn't the unstoppable Rock, Doc Henry teased, pointing at a bruise forming near Dwayne's left side. Dwayne chuckled. It's not unstoppable if it looks like a rainbow tomorrow, right? The doc carefully examined him, concluding no major damage, just soft tissue contusions. You'll be sore for a few days, but nothing a good rest can't fix, he said, handing over some painkillers, yet rest was the last thing on Dwayne's mind. As soon as he left the clinic, fans ambushed him outside, swirling with cameras and autograph requests. He recognized Dante among them, bright-eyed as ever. The boy was carrying a homemade sign that read, "Thank you, Dwayne. Never give up." Dwayne took a moment to sign it, joking, "You keep collecting these, you'll have a museum soon." While Dwayne was playing the gracious hero, behind the scenes the Nightblades were regrouping. Inside a dingy warehouse on the far edge of the city, some members who hadn't been arrested convened around flickering overhead bulbs. They cursed the fiasco at the show. Many demanded a plan to break Razor out, or, at minimum, avenge him. An imposing figure named Hawk, Razor's second-in-command, paced in front of them, eyes blazing with hatred for Dwayne. "That big shot humiliated us in front of the whole world. We can't let this pass," Hawk growled. Their solidarity was unwavering. They'd strike back, but how and where was the question. A rumor suggested the bail hearing for Razor might happen soon, giving them a narrow time frame to coordinate a possible breakout or at least intimidate the system. They also weighed targeting Dwayne at any upcoming public event. The gang had no illusions about matching Dwayne's physical prowess one-on-one, so perhaps another ambush was in the making. Unaware of the stirring pot, Dwayne parted from the crowd outside the clinic, heading home. Once inside his modest suburban house, he dropped onto the couch, feeling the full brunt of his battered body. He rubbed his temple, recalling the fearless faces in the audience last night. Families, kids, fans who never expected real danger. He flashed back to Drake's, no, Razor's, menacing grin, how it lingered after the beating. That grin said, "I'll be back." Dwayne inhaled, tapping his phone to check messages. A few from Townsend about rebooking the next shows, one from security staff praising him for saving the day. Then a message from an unknown number. "You only delayed me." A twinge of dread trickled down Dwayne's spine. He recognized the threat. Razor or someone connected to him had managed to get his contact info. Dwayne typed a quick reply. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Make your choice." He paused, uncertain whether sending it was wise, but pressed send anyway. As he set the phone down, he remembered Dante's shining eyes, the unwavering trust in his hero. That trust fueled him. If the Nightblades wanted to keep this war alive, so be it. Dwayne was ready to stand his ground. 2 days later, news broke that Razor made bail. Freed from jail, though with strict conditions, he refused to lie low. Instead, social media erupted with new videos posted by the Nightblades, featuring Razor's sneering face. In them, he blasted Dwayne Johnson as a phony hero, vowing that the final chapter was yet to be written. The authorities took note, but had limited power to rearrest him without a direct violation of bail. Tension simmered. That morning, Dwayne consulted with a private security expert, Lucas Bryant, someone he had known from previous tours and large events. "I just want to ensure no bystanders get caught if these punks come after me again," Dwayne said, seated in Lucas's minimalist office. Tall windows overlooked a busy street below. Lucas nodded. "We can arrange personal security details, close off potential infiltration points at your next show." But Dwayne shook his head. "I won't hide behind a big detail, not my style, but we can set up enough watchers to keep crowds safe." They hammered out a plan: discreet watchers among the fans, an improved backdoor locking system, and off-duty cops available if an emergency arose. That same day, a local TV channel invited Dwayne for a short interview about the incident. Eager to calm public fears, he accepted. On air, the anchor asked, "How do you respond to claims that the bar brawl and the ring invasion might have been a publicity stunt?" Dwayne let out a short, humorless laugh. Trust me, if it was a stunt, we'd all be in on it. We nearly had serious injuries, possibly worse. This was as real as it gets, and I'm not about to let a gang terrorize fans who come to enjoy a show." He urged viewers to stay vigilant and thanked the local police for their support, but refrained from dwelling on personal heroics. The anchor concluded by praising his courage, and the segment ended with a surge of public support. Outwardly, Dwayne displayed composure. Inwardly, he recognized that Razor's vendetta, fueled by the humiliating defeats, wouldn't vanish overnight. Meanwhile, Dante kept sending Dwayne short letters or drawings, pictures of him power-slamming monstrous bikers, or cartoon hearts with "Never Give Up," scrawled in bright markers. Each letter arrived at the Wrestling HQ, forwarded by Townsend. They lifted Dwayne's spirits. Back in the Nightblade circle, a scowling Razor convened with Hawk and a handful of loyal crew in an abandoned auto repair shop. The stench of oil and rust hung heavy, tools lay scattered, and dim overhead lights flickered. Posters of motorcycles pinned to the walls. This was their makeshift war room. "Johnson's too big to tackle head-on," Hawk said, pacing restlessly. "We'll need a trap." Another biker chimed in, suggesting they sabotage the next WWE show with a large group. But Razor only wanted direct revenge. "No more messing around with crowds. I want him alone, in a place he can't run." He tapped a battered smartphone, pulling up an Instagram post where Dwayne teased a charity event for kids at a local youth center. He's hosting a donation drive in 2 nights. He'll be exposed. The gang eyed each other with grim satisfaction. A plan was forming. At the youth center itself, staff pinned up flyers about Dwayne's appearance. They expected families, kids, and local sponsors to gather for an evening of food, games, and a short motivational speech from the star. Nobody suspected danger might lurk. Dwayne, though, recalled Lucas Bryant's advice. Be mindful of your schedule. He alerted the youth center manager, Miss Frazier, to increase local security presence, explaining there'd been recent issues. Miss Fraser found it odd, but she respected the request. The day arrived quickly. Dwayne loaded a box of T-shirts, wristbands, and small souvenirs into his truck, determined to bring some cheer to the kids. Meanwhile, Dante discovered the event and pleaded with Mr. Tatum to attend, hoping to see Dwayne again. The father relented. They planned a short trip. News spread that the unstoppable champion was coming, and more families got excited for a meet and greet. However, behind the scenes, the Nightblades prepped. Razor had them scoping out the center's entrances, windows, any place to catch Dwayne off guard. They arrived hours early, blending with the local neighborhood. Some bikers stayed hidden in side streets, while Hawk scouted the roof. Razor himself parked 2 blocks away, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. As the charity event kicked off, children laughed in the rec room, parents enjoyed snacks, and volunteers organized donation baskets. The vibe was pure positivity, a far cry from the chaos of the ring invasion. Dwayne arrived in the main hall, greeted by Miss Fraser's enthusiastic handshake. Surrounded by kids gazing at him like a superhero, he launched into easy conversation, handing out never give up wristbands. Dante soon entered with Mr. Tatum, wearing that bright grin. Dwayne recognized them immediately, exchanging a warm handshake. Then from the corner of the hall, the first sign of trouble emerged. A tall man in a black jacket, drifting closer, eyes scanning for a moment to isolate Dwayne. The next wave of confrontation approached swiftly, threatening to mar the Heartfelt event. Dwayne's sense of dread returned, and he prepared himself to once again defend those who put faith in him. At the youth center's main hall, balloons and posters gave the place a festive air. Cheerful music played softly over speakers. Families dropped off canned goods and clothing donations. Miss Fraser led Dwayne Johnson around, introducing him to local kids who idolized him. Dante stuck close, occasionally snapping pictures with Dwayne and other fans. For a moment, it seemed as if the looming threat was just a passing worry. But near the double doors, the tall man in the black jacket, presumably a Nightblade, lurked. He pretended to browse a table of freebies, yet his eyes never left Dwayne. Another figure in a beanie hovered by the snack area, scanning corners. They were waiting for Razor's signal. Everything was set for the ambush. If Dwayne moved out of the open hall, they'd corner him. Meanwhile, the rest of the gang presumably circled outside. The plan was to pounce at the right time, though no one anticipated that dozens of parents and children would hamper the easy assault. Lucas Bryant, the security consultant, had discreetly placed 2 off-duty cops in the crowd. One was near the stage, the other by the supply closet. They wore casual clothes, but carried concealed firearms. Their job was to keep watch for anything suspicious. Indeed, they'd noticed at least 2 men acting odd, but with so many people present, they had no immediate cause to intervene. They radioed each other updates, suspecting something might happen soon. As Dwayne finished signing a T-shirt for a shy 8-year-old girl, Miss Fraser tapped his shoulder. "Dwayne, we have a small stage set up for your motivational talk. Are you ready?" He nodded, smiling. "Absolutely." The staff parted the crowd, leading him to a modest platform at the front of the hall. Dante hurried to the front row, wanting a perfect seat to hear every word. The ambient chatter quieted. Miss Fraser introduced him. "Our special guest, here to inspire our youth, Mr. Dwayne Johnson." Applause filled the hall. Dwayne took the mic, scanning the smiling faces. For a second, he forgot about the threat, focusing on delivering hope to these families. "I always say real strength isn't just your muscles. It's about resilience," he began, voice resonant. "Every champion was once a kid with a dream. Every dream can become real if you never give up." He paused, noticing movement behind the cluster of parents. The tall man in the black jacket edged toward the side exit, murmuring something into a phone. Tension tugged at Dwayne's gut. He carried on, weaving a short speech about overcoming obstacles. The crowd clapped at each uplifting line. Dante cheered the loudest. Dwayne ended with a sincere note. "Remember, you're not alone. We help each other stand. That's what makes us unstoppable." The applause was thunderous, yet Dwayne's gaze flicked to the doors. He saw one of the off-duty cops discreetly pressing a finger to his earpiece. Danger was near. As the applause died down, Miss Fraser stepped up. "Let's give Dwayne another big hand." People cheered, many approaching the stage for autographs or pictures. In that swirl of excited voices, Dwayne hopped down, greeting them. He was mid-signature on a poster for a grandmother when he heard a commotion from the hallway. Shouts, a thud, then footsteps pounding. The policeman near the supply closet hurried out, calling for backup. Panicked, Miss Fraser tried to calm everyone. "Please remain calm. Everything is under control," she insisted, but fear flickered across parents' faces. The black-jacketed man reappeared, storming into the hall with an expression of raw fury. People scattered, forming a wide circle around him. In his left hand, a short metal baton glinted. "Johnson," he roared, "come out here, or I'll show these kids what real pain looks like." Gasps and shrieks filled the room. Dwayne, setting aside the poster, stepped forward. Dante's eyes darted with alarm, Mr. Tatum quickly pulling him back a few steps for safety. "Now's not the time or place," Dwayne growled, forcing authority into his voice. "We've got children here, families. You want me? You do it away from them." The man bared his teeth. "Too late for that. Razor wants you humiliated. No ring, no fancy music." He brandished the baton, daring Dwayne to approach. The policeman from earlier rushed in, gun drawn, but the attacker pivoted, grabbing a teenage bystander by the arm. "Back off or the kid gets it," he threatened. Chaos erupted. Miss Fraser shouted for everyone to stay calm. Some parents tried to shield their children behind them. The policeman froze, not wanting the teen to get hurt. Dwayne advanced slowly, hands raised. All right, he said, voice steady, hiding the swirl of anger inside. "Let the teen go, and I'll do whatever you want." The man sneered. "Fine, on your knees now." Murmurs of disbelief rippled around. Dwayne grimaced. This was humiliation territory, Razor's approach. He'd do anything to keep the teen safe, though. Slowly, he dropped to one knee, the policeman cursing under his breath. The man shoved the teen aside, raising the baton. He moved in, eyes gleaming with twisted satisfaction. That's when Dwayne lunged from his kneeling position, hooking the man's ankle and sending him crashing. The baton clattered away. Gasps turned to cheers as Dwayne pinned the man's wrist with an iron grip. The policeman swooped in to restrain him. Another would-be ambush undone. Yet Dwayne suspected this was merely a diversion, a sign that the real orchestrator, Razor, would strike soon. With the baton-wielding Nightblade subdued by the policeman, relief spread through the youth center hall. Families exhaled in unison, some even clapping spontaneously. Miss Fraser hurried to check on the teenage bystander, who thankfully seemed more shaken than hurt. Dwayne Johnson rose to his feet, adrenaline pumping. He took a quick glance around, scanning for any additional threats. The policeman cuffed the attacker and read him his rights. Another officer rushed in, reporting that outside the black-jacketed men had scattered, and local patrol cars were in pursuit. So ended the immediate threat inside the youth center. Dwayne turned to Miss Fraser, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did everything right," he murmured, voice calm. "Everyone's safe. That's what counts." She nodded, though her face remained pale from the shock. "I never dreamed such violence would come here. We're just a community center." Dwayne forced a small smile. "Violence can surface anywhere. We just gotta be ready." Across the room, Dante dashed over, tears glistening. "Mr. Johnson, are you okay?" Dwayne ruffled the boy's hair. "Better than okay, kid. But how about you?" Dante sniffled. I'm fine. You were amazing. Again." Chuckling softly, Dwayne told him, "Your courage is what matters. Keep that heart strong." A swirl of parents approached, some thanking him, others verifying if the threat was gone. Dwayne tried to ease their fears, telling them the police had things under control. Another policeman, a burly sergeant named Miller, introduced himself. "I've got to ask you, Mr. Johnson, do you have any idea why these people keep coming after you?" Dwayne sighed. "It's a personal vendetta. A man named Razor wants revenge for something years ago, and he can't let it go." Sergeant Miller nodded. "We'll coordinate with local authorities. Let's keep you posted if we catch him." Dwayne gave a grateful nod, but deep inside, Dwayne knew. Razor was no simple hothead. Each ambush had grown bolder. The bar fiasco, the ring invasion, now a direct assault at a children's charity event. This man was determined to break Dwayne's spirit by attacking him where it had hurt the most, public spaces among innocent watchers. Already, local tabloids were spinning sensational headlines. Wrestling icon or target? Dwayne Johnson's war with the Nightblades. Some fans online joked about it as a new storyline, but those who witnessed these real brawls felt the raw terror. That evening, once the youth center cleared out, Miss Frazier apologized for the fiasco. "We hoped for a joyful event, but it turned so scary." Dwayne brushed it off. "No need to apologize. The real blame's on those guys trying to bring chaos. We'll get through it." While staff packed up chairs and decorations, the policeman escorted the cuffed attacker outside to a waiting squad car. The kid who was threatened huddled in a corner, receiving comfort from his parents, still trembling from the ordeal. Dante and Mr. Tatum lingered at the exit. The father gave Dwayne a firm handshake, voice thick with gratitude. "I can't believe how real that was. You saved my boy once more." "Thank you." Dwayne set a hand on the man's shoulder. "I just did what had to be done." Dante stared wide-eyed. You never give up, do you?" he asked in a near whisper. Dwayne smiled warmly. "That's the motto, kid, and I live by it." On the ride back home, Dwayne scrolled his phone, found dozens of missed calls from media outlets. He glimpsed quick headlines reading, "Another attempt on Dwayne Johnson's life," "Iconic wrestler fights off gang again," and "Nightblades crash youth center." He quietly groaned. This wasn't the kind of publicity he wanted. He'd far prefer fans to talk about his motivational speeches or ring performances rather than him beating up criminals. Yet as he read social media comments praising his heroism or worrying about future attacks, he felt a sense of responsibility. Could he find a way to end it once and for all? Across town in a rundown apartment, Razor watched the local news broadcast that replayed footage of his man being arrested at the youth center. He seethed, throwing an empty beer bottle against the wall. It shattered, just like his illusions of an easy victory. "Johnson's humiliating me again," he spat, clenching his fists. Some of the Nightblades who remained loyal cowered in the corners, none daring to challenge his rage. For a moment, the battered, undefeated champion on screen seemed unstoppable, but Razor refused to accept that. He stood up, leaning over a battered table scattered with photos, a tattered map of the city, and scraps of newspaper clippings featuring Dwayne's face. "If I want to break him," Razor declared, "I have to do more than ambush in public. I need to strike at his heart, away from cameras, somewhere no cops, no crowd. Then he'll see who's real." The last loyal men nodded grimly, their loyalty unquestioned. Plans churned. They set their sights on a final, decisive confrontation where Dwayne couldn't rely on ring rules or supportive fans. Unaware of these schemings, Dwayne tried to catch some rest. But after a day like this, sleep wouldn't come easily. He lay in bed, replaying each scuffle, each anxious face of fans, hearing Dante's question echo. "You never give up, do you?" With a heavy sigh, he resolved to remain on guard. Sooner or later, Razor would appear again, and when that time came, Dwayne had to be ready to bury the feud for good, one way or another. 5 nights later, the stage was set for what would become the final confrontation. Word spread that Dwayne Johnson would make an appearance at a small community festival dedicated to celebrating local sports heroes. The festival's highlight, a short panel discussion with Dwayne as the star speaker, plus meet and greet afterward. The city's authorities had stepped up security for the event. Everyone knew the backstory, an ongoing threat from the Nightblades. Yet the festival organizers insisted that the public deserved a chance to see their hero again. Dwayne arrived an hour before the event, coordinating with Lucas Bryant, the security consultant. They scouted the open-air space, a fenced-off park area with a stage, rows of foldable chairs, food stalls, and a playground at the far edge. Police presence was visible, uniformed officers, patrol cars near the perimeter, and a few discreet men in suits scanning the crowd. Dwayne's tension lessened somewhat, believing they had the upper hand, but the Nightblades, led by a determined Razor, were equally prepared. Freed from illusions of ambushing Dwayne in large crowds, they now favored a more cunning approach. Razor had half his men remain hidden near side streets, while the other half melted into the festival crowd, disguised in casual wear. No big leather jackets, no loud insignias. This time they wanted no mass chaos, only to corner Dwayne alone and deliver the blow that would break his legend. As the sun dipped below the skyline, the festival kicked into full swing. Families roamed the stalls, kids played carnival games, and local band music provided a cheerful soundtrack. Dante showed up with Mr. Tatum once more, wearing the green wristband Dwayne had returned to him. They found front row seats near the stage. The father was watchful, however, scanning for any sign of trouble. Miss Frazier from the youth center was also in attendance, greeting them. Dwayne stepped onto the stage as dusk fell, greeted by loud cheers. He took the mic, thanked everyone for coming, and launched into a heartfelt talk about resilience, community spirit, and supporting local sports. The crowd loved it, cheering each time he said, "Never give up." Among them, the disguised Nightblades watched intently, waiting for a moment when the spotlight wouldn't shine so brightly, when Dwayne might slip away from protection. At the speech's end, applause thundered. Dwayne hopped down from the stage to greet fans. A line formed for photos and autographs. The police near him stayed vigilant. Everything seemed calm for about 15 minutes. Dwayne signed items, gave hugs, high-fived kids. Dante had him sign a small 8x10 photo, grinning ear to ear. Then, as if on a cue, lights around the festival flickered. Not a full blackout, just a short power surge plunging half the park into partial darkness. People murmured in confusion. Dwayne tensed. The flicker had that hallmark sign of sabotage. Sure enough, a shout rang out from near the generator area. Someone yelling about "cut wires." At that exact moment, a commotion broke near the fence. 2 or 3 men started shoving their way through the crowd. The uniformed police dashed to intercept, leaving Dwayne momentarily less guarded. Lucas Bryant barked orders, trying to keep the perimeter secure. But in the confusion, a shape lunged from the shadows behind the stage. It was Razor. He wore plain jeans and a dark hoodie, his face twisted with determination. Clutched in his hand, a length of chain with a padlock at the end, like a makeshift flail. He advanced swiftly on Dwayne, who was mid-photo with a fan. The fan gasped, seeing Razor. Dwayne turned just in time to block the chain's first swing with his forearm. A metallic clang rang out, sending a hush of dread through the onlookers. Razor hammered forward, fury fueling each blow. Dwayne deflected, but the chain smacked his side, eliciting a sharp grunt of pain. This confrontation had no boundaries or rules. The crowd scattered. Some security tried to intervene, but Razor's cohorts, lurking close, pushed them back. It was now or never. Dwayne realized that if he didn't handle Razor fast, more innocents could be caught. Summoning every ounce of strength, he launched forward with a running tackle. He slammed Razor onto the grass near the stage steps. The chain flew from Razor's grip, but Razor recovered in an instant, delivering a knee to Dwayne's ribs. They grappled violently, rolling through the grass. Lights flickered, half illuminating the savage fight. Fans screamed, retreating. Dante and his father stood pinned by fear near a cotton candy stall, eyes locked on the melee. Razor wrestled on top, jamming an elbow into Dwayne's collarbone. Dwayne coughed, pain flashing, but from the corner of his eye, he saw the chain just within reach. Straining, he grabbed it, spinning to wedge a forearm under Razor's chin. With a powerful thrust, he forced Razor off him, then hammered the chain's padlock down onto Razor's wrist, disarming him from further hits. Razor roared, fists flailing. The final exchange was fierce. Dwayne slammed a headbutt, momentarily dazing Razor, then hefted the battered man up across his shoulders in a fireman's carry. Gasps rippled through the scattered crowd. This was reminiscent of his signature wrestling move, but the context was dead serious. With a final roar, Dwayne executed a real-life version of his finishing slam, planting Razor into the grass. The man landed hard, breath knocked out. Police rushed in, tackling the last few Nightblades who remained. The scene was a swirl of sirens and shouted orders as more units arrived. Finally, with the final blow dealt, the feud reached its climax. Razor lay sprawled on the grass, beaten beyond denial. The chain clinked next to him. Dwayne Johnson, panting heavily, stood over him, heart pounding like a drum. The policeman in charge, Sergeant Miller, sprinted over, breathless from maneuvering through the panicked crowd. "Hands up," he commanded Razor, who didn't even have the strength to move. Another officer slapped cuffs on him, reading him his rights. The rest of the Nightblades, also subdued or fleeing, with law enforcement in pursuit. Gradually, the festival crowd realized the brawl was over. A wave of relief and applause erupted from the cluster of onlookers who had stayed. Some parents remained huddled in corners, comforting frightened children. Miss Fraser, trembling, came out from behind a concession stand, her voice quavering as she asked, Is it done?" Dwayne turned, giving a single nod. "Yes, ma'am, we're safe." Dante came running, father in tow. "Mr. Johnson," the boy cried, eyes wide with both fear and admiration. Dwayne forced a reassuring smile. "I'm okay," he said, though adrenaline still coursed in his veins, making his hands quiver. "You sure?" Dante pressed. Dwayne exhaled. "Just a little banged up, kid. I'll manage." He placed a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder. "Thanks for worrying about me." The festival's staff and local cops secured the perimeter. Despite the chaotic interruption, no serious injuries among the visitors were reported. The vantage of an open field meant fewer corners for criminals to trap innocents. Meanwhile, medics checked Razor, who glowered with defiant eyes. He spat once, blood trailing from his lip, and hissed at Dwayne, "One day you'll see you can't always be the hero." Dwayne locked eyes with him, unflinching. "Maybe, but not today." Officials guided Dwayne aside, ensuring paramedics could treat his bruises. He waved them off politely. "I'm fine. Just let me catch my breath." Lucas Bryant rushed up. "We tried controlling the outer perimeter, but they slipped in from the side street. Are you all right?" Dwayne nodded. "Razor's done. I doubt he'll get bail again after this." The implication was clear. The final blow in their feud had landed. The audience who had scattered slowly regrouped, whispering about what had happened. Many stared wide-eyed at Dwayne. Sure, WWE wrestlers played heroes in the ring, but tonight reaffirmed that for Dwayne Johnson, heroism extended beyond the script. An official from the city festival approached, apologizing profusely. "We never intended to put you or anyone in danger. We'll ensure charges are pressed so they don't threaten folks again." Dwayne gave a curt nod. "No apology needed. Just keep folks safe." A hush overcame the scene as the cops marched Razor and his men off in cuffs, their heads bowed in forced submission. The scattered crowd began to clap, the applause swelling into a thunderous ovation. It wasn't about wrestling moves or titles. It was about saving everyday people from harm. Dwayne lifted a hand, acknowledging them with a humble wave. Dante cheered loudest, chanting, "Never give up." Others joined, echoing the motto. When all was said and done, Dwayne took a seat on a metal bench near a half-collapsed popcorn stand. The adrenaline come-down made every muscle ache. Miss Fraser approached, offering a bottle of water. "You should rest," she said gently. "We can end the festival here." He took a grateful gulp. "No," he insisted, voice hoarse. "Let's give the kids a bit more joy if they still want it. This festival is for them, right?" She offered a watery smile, half laughing at his spirit. "All right, but you're the boss." And so, after the dust and fear settled, the festival resumed, albeit subdued. Families trickled back to see if it was safe, saw Dwayne's battered form, but unwavering resolve. They realized that sometimes real heroes walk among them, and sometimes they're wrestlers who won't let criminals overshadow a community event. Dante reappeared with a small group of kids, timidly asking if Dwayne still wanted to sign their t-shirts. Despite the throbbing in his ribs, Dwayne nodded. "Sure thing," he said. "One condition. You all promise to never give up, no matter what." They collectively agreed with bright smiles. Before leaving, Dwayne parted with Lucas, the policeman, Miss Fraser, in a final handshake with Dante. The boy beamed up at him. "Thanks for everything. You're not just a star in the ring, you're a real-life champion." Dwayne ruffled the kid's hair. "So are you, buddy. Keep shining." That night ended with subdued lights, final arrests, and an unspoken vow that the city wouldn't soon face another Nightblades fiasco. The reckoning had come, and Dwayne stood on top, scratched, bruised, but unbroken. In the days that followed, local news lauded Dwayne Johnson's resilience in the final takedown of Razor's gang. Social media overflew with clips praising his never-say-die attitude. The feud that had begun in a bar escalated in a wrestling ring and spilled into charity events finally concluded with Razor behind bars for good. Fans across the globe saw that sometimes wrestling's catchphrase, "never give up," extends beyond the scripted ring and into real life, where true heroism might just mean stepping up to protect the innocent. What do you think about how this feud ended? Did Razor get what he deserved? Could there be more lurking in the shadows? Let us know your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed this story, packed with real-life brawls, unwavering courage, and unstoppable determination, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next epic tale.